I'm Inon Kosiga. I'm leading the product management and one of the co-founders of Wiz. And today, really, I'm super excited to talk to you about a topic that is dear to us, which is how can we future-proof our cloud security by adopting a new cloud operating model. We're going to talk about the model, and then I'll be joined by two distinguished guests, Stephen Craig from Hearst, and Adam Lichtenstein from Pfizer for our fireside chat. So we have lots of announcements that we're making today, and thank you all for joining. I'll just start by a question with a raise of a hand. Who is using Wiz already now? Oh, wow, nice. Okay, thank you. And basically, let's start with talking about the challenge that why we are all here. Cloud changes everything, obviously for the best, but as security teams, we need to basically consider three dramatic changes to our security posture and organization. The first one is that we're going to see many, many new environments coming in a growing pace. I think we see more clouds, more architectures, more technologies, and over the past year, we've obviously seen the adoption of generative AI technologies and how they exploded and in use, and now we need to gain visibility into who's doing what. So this question is question number one. Question number two, how do we address the new risks that these technologies entail? And more importantly, how can we effectively prioritize what's truly important and eliminate things that are less important, so we keep the teams really focused on what's most important to do right now. And the third thing is how do we embrace this new operating model, new ownership model, where engineers, builders create, manage, configure their own resources. And in order to do it at scale and securely, we need to have a mechanism to ingrain security into their day-to-day. So these are the three challenges we see, and AWS is doing a phenomenal job introducing more and more APIs every single year. I don't know how many were added this year, this reInvent, but you can see the trend. And every API is very exciting because it's more capabilities, more technologies, more opportunities for our builders. But from a security perspective, it's another thing that we need to inspect. We need to decide what is the best way to use it in our organization, what are the best practices. And basically, this is just an example for the rapid acceleration of both the expanding cloud footprint that we have alongside more and more technologies that are brought into place. The growing cloud teams, because we're doing more in the cloud to start with, and the growing pace of innovation in the cloud. All of this is obviously great for the business, but as security teams, we need to find a way to bridge over that gap and scale with this fast-growing cloud. And today, we're going to talk exactly about this. How can we create a cloud security model that embraces that pace? And in order to do this, we need to start with basically looking at what are the three fundamental phases of the cloud lifecycle. The first one is what we call security posture management. Security posture management, very simple, means that we connect to the cloud environments and we need to know what are the risks that are out there now and what can we remediate in order to reduce our attack surface. After we've done this, we also have the second part of secure cloud development. This is the question that we ask ourselves. When we develop, when we deploy these cloud environments, these cloud applications, how are we doing it in a way that is secure at the get-go? So how do we ingrain security into the development process, into the CI/CD, into the container and the build process? And the last question is, how do we create a line of defense, less line of defense that can detect and, if found, respond immediately to threats? And these three pillars are the pillars that we need to think about when we are approaching cloud security. Secure development, security posture, and the ability to detect and respond to threats. Now, the problem in security is that you simply have too many tools to do this task. On an average organization, you have today more than 10 tools focusing only on this aspect of cloud security. And you may know some of the acronyms like CSPM, DSPM for data, CIEM, like KIM for identities. This is for the posture side. You have ISC scanning, you have registry scanning, you have code scanning, you have basically tools that are for runtime monitoring, workload protection. Each one of these has just one fragment of the answer to securing your cloud, but one fragment. And this is why we are very happy to be part of a market that actually makes all of this one. The market name is CNAPP, Cloud Native Application Protection Platform. It's a 5-letter acronym, but it is what it is. And this market is super exciting because not only it protects your end-to-end cloud delivery process from code to CI/CD to the actual environments across all clouds, all architectures, it actually delivers it to the different personas, starting from the devs, the DevOps, the security teams, the SOC team, and it gives them what they need to see on their cloud environment. Now, the exciting thing, as I mentioned, is that this is from Gartner. While on average, an organization uses today 10 different tools, within just a few years, this number will go down to 3 because of the massive consolidation that is happening in this space. So this means that if you are not using a CNAPP, the opportunity to use a CNAPP will simplify dramatically your stack because of that consolidation. And I want to offer you a perspective on how Wiz is implementing CNAPP, and through this, how this builds a very different cloud security operating model. First thing, when we think about the cloud security operating model, it has to account for many, many different types of services. We need to think of the workloads that we run. Doesn't matter which architecture, whether it's an EC2, serverless function, serverless container, doesn't matter. We need to protect any workload that runs in the cloud. On the other hand, we need to secure all of these paths and applications, like buckets, databases. We need to be able to monitor the cloud services of the security services of the cloud provider, and as there are new applications, new services, we need to onboard them and have visibility. And the last example is obviously Bedrock that was launched, and how do we secure it? So we need something that we look at all of this. And the way Wiz handles it is that we connect first using an API-only approach to your AWS environment, also other clouds. It analyzes everything using an API, and when I say everything, I mean we start with the cloud configuration, but then we go deep into each one of the workloads. We scan VMs, we scan the container images, the serverless functions, the buckets, the databases. So it gives us a really good understanding of not only what resources you have, but also, using the security graph, we know how they interconnect. We build the graph based on AWS Neptune, by the way, which is a graph database. We build a graph that allows us to understand the cloud environment. We can understand what is exposed, who can access what. And we can take this and we can layer into that graph all of the risks that we scan for. So Wiz natively scans for vulnerabilities, misconfigurations, sensitive data, malware, secrets that are exposed, and we take all of these findings and we layer them into the graph. The reason that we do it is because we can then ask very simple questions that are almost impossible to answer otherwise. For instance, do I have an attack path that goes from the internet through a combination of vulnerabilities, exposures, misconfigurations, and gets to sensitive data inside my cloud? The ability to address this question effectively and at scale, this is what creates what we call toxic combinations. We find these toxic combinations, we find these attack paths, and we can say that these are more important than anything else that you find today, because these are validated attack paths that you should remediate. The ability to surface these attack paths is amazing, not only because you can see the attack path, you can also eliminate all of the other findings that do not contribute to an attack path. So it's not only about finding the things that are bad, it's about saying on the other things, these are less important so we can focus the teams on what to do. And when we get to this level of description of here is an attack path, and we can visualize it, something else can happen. We can actually take these findings and put it in front of the team that actually built this application, the builders. And we can tell them, hey, you deployed this application. Maybe you haven't realized, but this is an attack path that we found, and these are things, this is the toxic combination that we need to solve, because otherwise this creates a path to our sensitive data. And the ability to do it at scale and deliver the risk to the teams that built these services actually engages with them in a way that, one, shows them how good looks like. It educates them on what not to do next time. And most importantly, it allows us to reduce these risks in a much, much accelerated time frame. So we can give them the visibility into these risks, and we can let them also automate workflows. Some of them may want to have it on their Slack, on their Jira. Some of them would want to automate the response. They can automate any way they want, as long as they reduce the risks. And that's a scalable process where we can identify the toxic combination, the attack path that matter most, and deliver it to the teams for remediation. This makes security, or cloud security, a team sport. It means that while security gains full visibility to everything that is going on in the environment, we are engaging through a self-service experience with the dev teams so they can take part in reducing these risks. One term that I really, really like by Melody at Fox, it was basically that this operating model allowed her to achieve the vision of democratizing security to the teams, to the builders. And that's a really exciting place to be. Now, with that note, we have really gotten a lot of questions about AI. And how do we secure AI in this evolving space? And what we also found is that more than 70% of the cloud environments already include an AI component today. So it's happening. But in most cases, it is still not productized, where security is one of the main reasons why organizations cannot move to productizing AI applications yet. The reasons are very similar to the reasons why cloud was like 10 years ago. One, we don't know, security teams are still not familiar with these technologies. We need to learn. Second, they entail new risks that some of them are even unknown because there isn't enough research yet. It's new. And third, it's rapidly evolving. Just look at the amount of announcements we had this reInvent on AI. So these challenges, basically we figure out how do we help teams to secure AI today. And the first thing we've done, we released Wiz for AI Security. It allows you to, one, have full visibility to the AI pipelines that are built inside your environment. So as security teams, you can have immediate visibility to who is using what when it comes to AI. Again, agentlessly, without bothering the teams. You don't need to call them, you don't need to ask, you just get the full visibility into the inventory. You can then identify the attack path that involve these AI risks, and you can remediate them. You can combine the sensitive data, because AI and data, they're always go together. We can scan all of the data that goes into this AI model, identify when it's sensitive, and protect it in a way that it should. And lastly, and that's the most important, it empowers the AI developers. Many of them are new to this. Many of them are new to cloud and into these specific AI services. We can give them the visibility into understanding how to do it safely, securely. And by doing this, we also onboarded as Bedrock was GA'd, we onboarded Bedrock to Wiz, so we can now discover what are the misconfigurations that are common and we can avoid in Bedrock. You can create your own custom rules, for instance, on how to secure Bedrock. We did the same on SageMaker, but now it gives you a flexible way to do it across, like any other AWS services, also for the AI ones. Now, it's not only about Bedrock, and we need to understand that when we secure AI, it's about the full pipeline. Because if I'm taking sensitive training data and expose it on a public bucket because I wanted to share it with a model, it's out. And we need to be able to protect that training data in the bucket as part of the AI pipeline. And Wiz is using the graph exactly in order to implement it. And the thing that you get is like an AI security dashboard that you log in, and you can immediately see all of this stuff in one place. What do you use? Who's using it? What can I do to secure? Now, we talked a lot about the AI security as part of the security posture as a whole. But we want to build security into the day-to-day of the developers, the development teams, the build pipelines. And in order to do this, Wiz has several tools that allow you to ingrain security and take all of the scanners that we run in the cloud into the code, into the CI/CD, into the build process. So we can scan images, infrastructure as code, as before it even gets to the cloud environments. And then if we find these things that we want to prevent, we can prevent it before it reaches the cloud. And this ability really goes across the entire lifecycle. So develop, build, store, deploy, we all do that. But there are three main things that we need to remember when we go to secure these pipelines. One, to secure the code directly, to secure the infrastructure that is built via code, and to secure the supply chain so we can trust everything that goes into our applications. We have several significant announcements this reInvent on that front, where we really enhanced our secure cloud development capabilities. And the first one is the ability to scan code in GitHub. We released the support to connect to your GitHub Enterprise, GitHub On-Prem. And basically, you can discover all of the code repositories, map the developers that are working on these repositories, and scan the code, either periodically, the entire code, or on demand, based on specific events, for instance, on merge, so we can inspect just the changes and provide real-time feedback to the developers as they are about to merge a code that we know is going to create a vulnerability or a risk later on. The thing is that we're using the exact same policy that runs in the cloud. So you have a consistent policy from cloud to code that you can now apply, and this facilitates the ability to deliver the earliest possible warning to the team, to the developer, on fixing these issues. But it's not only that. Wiz brings the context of the cloud to that process. And one of the things, and think about how many of you have scanned for secrets, and you have found secrets that are not really interesting, and then only one out of many was really important. Wiz can now tell you exactly which secret is important, because not only we can find these secrets in the code, we can actually tie them back to the actual permissions they would give in the cloud had you used them. So we can say, hey, this is actually a secret that is mapped to an admin account on that AWS account, whereas this secret has very low permissions or even expired, so don't worry. The ability to tie the context from the cloud into the code process is significant. It allows us to be much more accurate and much more specific about the risks that we want to mitigate and reduce the noise. Again, reduce the noise. This is just one example. The other example is the ability to do cloud to code for containers. Containers are typically cloud-native resources. This means that if we need to fix something, it's not going to be directly in the cloud. We find the problems in the cloud, we find the risks in the cloud, but in order to mitigate them, we need to get the engineering teams, the builders, to go back to the code, fix it, redeploy. So today, we are also providing the ability to trace any container image that is scanned via the Wiz like CLI in the pipeline, trace it all the way to its source by providing the security teams and the development teams the exact repo, Docker file, committer, the time in which this container was built. So you can accelerate the time it takes you to fix that specific vulnerability and redeploy a patched container to the cloud. These are two examples, the secrets and the containers, for how we are using code not only in order to scan it, but in conjunction with the cloud context to accelerate remediation processes. Around supply chain, one of the risks we have is actually knowing which images are deployed to our clusters. Which controls have they gone through? Have they been scanned? Have they been compliant? And Kubernetes offers us a really unique way to enforce it. Kubernetes has a mechanism called admission controller. Wiz integrates to the Kubernetes admission controller and allows us to enforce a policy. We have introduced the ability of validating container images that are signed. So it means that today, you can sign any container image in your pipeline. You can provide Wiz the public key, and Wiz, through the integration to the admission controller, will validate that no one tampered, no one pushed, and another container that you didn't want to be deployed to your environment, and will validate that your signed images are the ones that you expect. And this is available, and you can use it in order to secure the supply chain of your clusters today, any image that you build. And last but not least, visibility into the SBOM. SBOM, basically software bill of materials, provides the entire inventory of the libraries, packages, any dependencies that you have inside the code. Wiz provides today the ability to generate an SBOM report on any cloud resource without any agents. So if you have a question about a specific VM, what are the content of this VM software-wise? One click away, you get a full report of all the components. From here, we're moving to detection and response. And it's really important to understand that around detection and response in the cloud, the workloads are just one ingredient. In order to do effective detection in the cloud, obviously we need to have signals from the workload. This means that Wiz offers a runtime sensor, and until today, until everything we talked about now, it was completely agentless. But in order to collect the network traffic, the file access, the memory, we have actually a small sensor that you can deploy on your workloads, whether these are Linux VMs, containers, and we can basically collect this additional information. So we can detect malicious activities, malware, malicious traffic, malicious domains that are accessed. We can collect these signals, but it's not enough in the cloud. In order to detect full cloud threats, we need to be able to combine it with the cloud activities. The problem is that today, cloud activities like guard duty alerts, enumeration alerts, everything suspicious that happens on the cloud level actually is dealt in another queue. So typically, you have SOC teams that are looking on the workload, they are looking on the cloud, but it's really hard to combine these two together. The way Wiz addresses this challenge is by bringing in the graph. The graph actually helps us to know that this specific workload is using that specific identity. So if we see malicious activity on the workload, and then a suspicious activity on the cloud identity, we can tie the two into an entire attack path. And this is what we need when it comes to cloud threats, because the threat actors are moving between the workload, the cloud layer, the Kubernetes layer, to move laterally, and we need to detect these patterns. And in order to do this, again, Wiz allows you to deploy a runtime sensor and collect the cloud logs. We integrate with guard duty and other tools in order to collect all of the signals. We correlate them, and then we provide the ability to respond by either blocking, removing the cloud resource, blocking the process, or applying a cloud action that would isolate, for instance, the resource or contain the threat. You can respond in all layers. Now, around CDR, the Wiz runtime provides you this visibility, and we have also an announcement on that front for reInvent. Basically, a challenge we've seen, how to secure Fargate, ECS. So Wiz runtime today supports ECS running on EC2, and you can use the same sensor to secure your ECS workloads. And for ECS Fargate, Guard Duty just announced the ability to monitor seamlessly all of your ECS Fargate instances. Wiz integrates with that signal, and we can bring it into Wiz. The benefit of bringing it into Wiz is that, again, you have the full context. Not only you get an alert, you know what's a container, who built it, how is it exposed to the internet, is it vulnerable or not, what is the probable entryway, what is the probable blast radius. So you can actually have all of these questions baked into your investigation experience in Wiz. You can collect forensics, you can investigate, so you can decide what is the best way to respond. And again, this is available without any agents required to get these forensics based only on the graph. One other thing that is really interesting, we talked about the democratization. Another very important concept in the new cloud security operating model is operating across the life cycle of the cloud. And when we look at the three components, secure development, security posture, and threat detection, basically, we can see the entire, for those of you who are familiar, the NIST CSF framework applied to your cloud environment. We start with the identify, protect, and continue with the detect, respond, recover. And all of this is actually driving across different clouds, different architectures, and you can have processes starting at the code level and consistently applied across the lifecycle all the way to the runtime. This is what defragments. This is what simplifies your cloud experience, your cloud security. And when we look at the benefit on how CNAPP basically helps to simplify your cloud security program, first, in terms of the new environments, we give you unconditional visibility. Everything that happens, you gain visibility into it. We provide you the security baselines. So even if you don't know this specific service, Wiz will tell you what's the baselines that you should apply out of the box. We provide a single policy across the lifecycle, across clouds, across architectures, and we provide you the context to know what truly matters. And most importantly, we bring it back to the devs. We allow you to take the findings and make it a team sport about fixing them, about learning as a team. The baselines in Wiz are significant. And many teams are hesitant to start a tool because they need to know all of the resources. But it's really important to know that this is a shared knowledge. We're all using the same services. We all share the same best practices. And we can basically give you thousands of rules out of the box as soon as you connect Wiz to jumpstart your cloud security team on how to do security. And that's significant. That's a knowledge that we accrue together and we build into the product. And the next SMB that will use cloud and have no idea what to do with the cloud can get the latest and greatest of the best practices just by plugging in the CNAPP tool. So this is basically, I wanted to do this. This is basically one of the significant benefits. And one more thing that we wanted to really solve is how to get this information closer to the DevOps teams when they need it most. And in order to do this, we basically announced a really cool extension that you can download to Chrome. This extension has visibility only to what you're seeing in your AWS portal. And as soon as it sees a resource, like a VM, an EC2, an account, a bucket, it will actually ask Wiz, do I have a risk? Should I fix something in this resource? Do I have any exposed data here? And basically, Wiz will show it in the small widget. You can see it below. This widget allows you to see and connect directly into Wiz and see all of these issues immediately. So you can pivot back and forth from your AWS portal and the resource to the risks in order to understand what to do to secure it. And this brings these insights first immediately when you need them. It works on all the major resources, and it integrates directly to your workflow. So with that, these were, just to recap, we had a few announcements here. We discussed the AI SPM, and when it comes to the CSPM aspect, we had the code scanning and the cloud-to-code capabilities. We had the SBOM capability alongside the image validation capability for Kubernetes, and last, the extension and the support to ECS. This is for reInvent, and this is just a bit of what Wiz can show you. So if you want to see more, we have a really, really cool booth with Diner. It has like really cool socks as well that match. And if you want, really come to see us at the booth in order to see like a full demo, and we'll be happy to meet. Now, Wiz meets customers wherever you are. You can be a mature customer in the cloud. You can be a customer that just starts the cloud journey. And today, as I mentioned, we have two very distinguished guests that are here to share their story about cloud security. And I want to invite to the stage Stephen Craig, Senior Director of Cloud Excellence at Hearst, and Adam Lichtenstein, Director of Hosting Security Products at Pfizer. Can you hear me?
No. I got stuck in the middle, don't I?
Okay. Thank you. So, Stephen, Hearst is a big conglomerate. You have hundreds of entities, and you have a very interesting growth strategy through mergers and acquisitions. And you're part of the Cloud Center of Excellence that actually oversees these mergers and acquisitions as well. And I was wondering if you can share a bit more about Hearst, the Cloud Center of Excellence, and yeah, about you.
Thank you very much for having me. So Hearst is interesting because much like the Matrix, where there is no spoon, there is no Hearst either. There is only just a collection of literally hundreds of separate siloed companies. And this is because M&A is in our DNA, and literally the bylaws of the Hearst Family Trust require that we reinvest a portion of our profits into mergers and acquisitions on an ongoing basis. So just like we know change is constant in general, we also know at HTS, where I work, Hearst Technology, that we're always going to have new mergers and acquisitions. So in the Cloud Center of Excellence, my three pillars are cloud economics, cloud enablement, and cloud governance. It's with that cloud governance pillar that I found Wiz, started to realize some of the value there, and started to bring its excellent capabilities to essentially all of our companies.
Thank you. And Adam, you're also part of a major healthcare.
Thank you.
And basically, I would love to, you have a huge cloud presence, and your CTO just talked today about, on stage with Adam, on how significant this cloud presence is and the use of advanced services. And I was wondering, like from your perspective, how is it to secure cloud at size of Pfizer's? And also, what are the processes that relate to regulated organizations like yourself?
Sure. So about 7 years ago, our cloud journey started, and it was a long journey. I mean, we started with just a mode 1, just giving people EC2s and S3 buckets and nothing else. And then we started evolving and developing into these more rapid accounts where we give our customers almost unlimited resources and unlimited services that are qualified, because we have to run qualified services to meet our controls and our regulations and all the other stuff. And then finally, we're able to then implement security tools, so with Wiz. But our journey started even before Wiz. We were running Cloud Custodian, which is a bespoke tool. It's very hard to keep up. And then we said we have to retire that, and we added a different CSPM, but all it was CSPM. And our journey started looking 2 years ago at Wiz at Amazon Summit, and looking at these things and saying, wow, we need to start looking at this.
And you mentioned some of the challenges on the mergers of acquisitions, and I'm wondering, like, when you started this process, what are typically the gaps you see, and how do you overcoming them with the entities? And yeah, just share more about it.
There, you know, the single largest gap really was a visibility challenge for our executives and for our leadership, because we are intentionally siloed. And what that means is we have hundreds of CISOs, we have hundreds of CTOs, we have hundreds of application development directors, we have hundreds of QA departments. So quality varies, tools vary, knowledge and experience varies. It's difficult to get force multipliers there. It's difficult to establish a certain minimal level of quality. And so getting things together, providing a little bit of standardization, a little bit of consistency with a tool that maybe doesn't do everything yet, but does provide excellent coverage in many of the places that we need it the most, was absolutely the top priority and excellent aspect of Wiz, is that, dare I say it, we could finally provide a single pane of glass into our cloud security posture across all of these numerous companies and numerous business units that we have.
And on that note, so Adam, you're rolling out a tool across an organization that is big as well, hundreds of teams. Can you share a bit more on the insights on how do you go about rolling such a tool? What are the best practices? What are the things we should be looking for as we deploy new tools across our cloud environment and teams?
So the biggest thing is, well, we named our project. That's the most important thing. It was called Alchemy. So we used the Wiz and we had fun. We were having fun around coming a name. We called it with Alchemy. With that, we started with a plan. We had to look at what did we need to do and deploy inside Wiz. And the biggest thing to understand is you have to get the outpost ready and running. So we worked with Wiz on how do we deploy at scale across thousands of, hundreds of machines and making sure we don't have all the issues and get it working as infrastructure as code. So not only do we deploy it, every time a new region gets spun up, 30 minutes later, with infrastructure code and Terraform, we're able to deploy Outposts, which to me was huge. We've also have it in China. So we are probably one of the first running Amazon China with Wiz, with security events. So we have the real-time CloudTrail events coming into Wiz, with Outposts, with starting to have remediation with CSPM going.
Outpost is a way to deploy Wiz inside the cloud account of the customer in a way that runs all the scanned separately from the Wiz service.
So we keep all our data inside our companies. So we also then looked at how do we deploy over and over and over. So we looked at the roles, we looked at the permissions, we looked at everything. And every time a new account gets built, the Wiz roles, the Outpost roles, everything is there, including our SCPs that are controlling what Wiz can do and not do. And it's been a really great journey getting Wiz out. And we have 100% visibility across every cloud I have. And
just wondering, Steven, on terms of rolling out after deploying across the teams, and you mentioned visibility as the main challenge, how do you measure success? What are the key metrics that you've seen in terms of results? And what surprised you, maybe?
Absolutely. No, we've seen excellent results with Wiz. Much like we hear from my colleague at Pfizer, we're taking a similar approach to make sure that Wiz is embedded in every single cloud account that we're creating from the get-go. And what we found is that less than 3 months after our initial deployment of Wiz, we had cut our total number of criticals down by 50%. And this is without any type of pushing, no nudging, no really wringing of the necks. This was only just because we were finally able to shine a light in all of these dark corners, and we were able to shift the conversation from those 30,000 row spreadsheets that everybody loves every single month or every single quarter with all of the things that need to be remediated. And that all shrunk down from literally thousands and thousands potentially of lines to a handful or a couple of handfuls of toxic combinations that are incredibly important and that you really need to put somebody on just right away. So that was the first thing, was that organically, simply by bringing that visibility, simply by showing people where the challenges were, simply by prioritizing what they should be doing for that 90 minutes of time only that they might have each week, we cut our criticals in half. After we did that, some anecdotes started rolling in from some of our DevOps directors, some of our application development directors. One of the things that one of our directors of DevOps said to me was, wow, this is more valuable than a full-time DevSecOps employee for me. And I think that that's just absolutely massive, because I think about all of the work product that I could get out of an experienced DevSecOps person. but we're essentially providing that for every single one of our companies. And that right there is a massive force multiplier for us.
And that's exactly like the cloud operating model we see that basically empowers the teams to do the right thing. And once you show them, they are happy to take the action on it.
Absolutely. And with the fact that Wiz is releasing new features so quickly,
Here.
there is so much more that the tool is able to do for us literally week over week. As the release notes come out, it seems like every 2 weeks there's a unified Helm chart to make it easier to install into Kubernetes. There's a runtime sensor. There's DSPM. There's so much coming out, and the fact that all of these capabilities are inside of one single tool, combined with the fact that there's no license fee for user seats, and we can literally throw the doors wide open, and all of the developers can have access to the projects that contain the cloud resources that they care about, and all of the security people can have a universal global view across the entire board and the entire estate. Is absolutely huge, and it really is helping us shift left.
Yeah, and with this, Adam, maybe a question to you. How are you thinking about your cloud security program, and what are the next steps? Because there are obviously new technologies, like generative AI, there are new capabilities, there are new challenges every day, so how do you build it ahead?
So I think we started with a lot of your core services, DSPM, CNAP, the container security and all this stuff. And I will tell you, the DSPM was a godsend. It found some critical toxic combinations that were evident that we did not know about for years, and we had to get them really remediated quickly. I think where we're starting to go to today is, we've already looked at your AI security portal. We've turned on your generative AI recommendations in the fix the problems, and we're moving more and more into the AI security because that's where our company's going today. I think there is so much coming out of Wiz to bring together. The GitHub Action Scanner, we were the first really to put it to the test. We put 12,000 repos on day one into Wiz, and we're pushing the limits. And in 3 weeks, the product management team has returned almost everything we wanted fixed. They keep every week, they're going to keep giving us our fixes, and it's amazing how fast Wiz can turn on a dime for customers like us, but customers out everywhere to fix and solve for problems.
Thank you. And maybe just closing notes from Steve and Adam. What else would you like to share with the team on cloud security overall and the journey there?
I'll go. So I think, when you look at Wiz and you look at the product, it's not just a CSPM. It is hundreds of tool belts, 100 tools in your tool belt that you can pick out and choose. You just need to look at it, prioritize the ones you want to start with, and then move along and get them going. But I will say, every week there's more and more releases and features. And what we've done is we take the release notes and we take what is critical and we put a backlog item in our Jira boards and we start looking at them. But look at it as like the Batman utility belt, because that is what you need to do, is take on all of those features. You won't be able to turn everything on day one, but you will be able to turn on more and more every day.
Who uses Wiz in the room right now today? Okay, so, right, yeah, it's awesome. So you and I met for the first time last year at reInvent. And if last year at reInvent, anyone had walked up to me and been like, you're going to be super excited about a cloud security tool, you just don't know it yet, I would have said, what? There is no way. But I have never been this jazzed about a tool ever before, and I'm in IT, so I've used a lot of tools. And really, the thing here is that there is so much work to do that we need to be able to help our people prioritize. And that's the essential fundamental magic of Wiz. And the features get released, and there's a little bit more coverage over here, there's a little bit more coverage over here. But the thing that I think is really revolutionary about Wiz is how we are moving the conversation away from a very transactional, very straightforward, here's a CVE with a number, somebody gotta fix it. Hey, there's a script exploit out here, we got to make sure that, that can't harm us. Hey, we've got ports open, but is there anything meaningful behind those ports? Do I really need to care about that? And we're moving the conversation to this notion of toxic combinations, where Wiz is going to tell you right away that the port is open to the internet. There's something listening behind it that hasn't been patched. There's a CVE logged against it, and there's a script that some kiddie can get from GitHub. Not only that, but the EC2 instance that has the vulnerability is wearing an IAM role that has administrative permissions, maybe not even to this particular account, but to another account inside your larger environment. And that machine has access to some type of data as well. And it is this ability to say, oh my gosh, that really is supremely important. And you know what? I don't even necessarily need to remediate all 7 or 8 parts of that toxic combination. It's just like a stool, right? And if you take the time to kick out one of those legs, all of a sudden it's no longer critical and it's no longer the single most important thing that you've got going on. But the fact of the matter is that we have learned to love and learned to trust the toxic combinations. And for me, that's been a major amount of the value of the tool, is that when Wiz says it's critical, I believe it's critical. We have SLAs internally and we get people on it right away, because there really is a real risk there. It's been proved, it's been vetted, it's been verified. You have a team of analysts or multiple teams of security analysts that are populating the tool with all of this threat research and intelligence. You are aware of things as they happen or beforehand in some cases. And it really is helping us be just significantly more efficient at our job.
Well, I'm humbled, and thank you very much for sharing the story and the journey with the team. With that, thank you very much for the partnership. Thank you all for attending. We are here for any questions if you want. And have a great reInvent. Thank you all.